John Bowden Rock History Music, and my kids being around the 40-year-old age and grew up with Pee Wee Herman. This is one of those situations where I'm going, man, really? Pee Wee Herman, Paul Reubens has passed away. Let me just get rid of some of these. Passed away today, or actually it was last night. He was 70 years old. Anyone who grew up and had kids at that age, listen, I know some people who didn't have kids and watched Paul Reubens as Pee Wee Herman. You know, it was just the weirdest thing you could imagine looking at on TV, and yet somehow it worked. It worked on a major motion picture, of course, with Paul Reubens. That first picture, that first Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure, that movie was crazy. And somehow it became a hit. It's that double tier thing that Disney was very, very good at, which was having jokes for the adults and having jokes for the kids. Some of them correlated, some of them were both the adults and the kids would get. Other times, only the kids would get certain jokes and the adults would get the other jokes. But Pee Wee Herman, Paul Reubens, passed away. Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Man, what a show that was. I was watching this show when my kids weren't, I was divorced at the time, when my kids weren't coming over that weekend. I would still watch the show. I would tape the show. I had a used old VHS. It was new technology, but for me, it was heavily used by a TV station. I bought it. I was able to watch it. But what a shocker. He says he's been out of the limelight. Of course, there was that thing about him and the adult, I never saw a big deal out of it. He was blacklisted for a while, where he was caught doing stuff in an adult theater, where people do in an adult theater. I've never been in one of those, so I don't know. Here's the news release is: last night we said farewell to Paul Reubens, an iconic American actor, comedian, writer, producer whose beloved character Pee Wee Herman delighted generations of children and adults with his positivity, whimsy, and belief in the importance of kindness. Paul bravely and privately fought cancer for years with his trademark tenacity and wit, a gifted and prolific talent. He will forever live in the comedy pantheon in our hearts. And then, in a tweet, he himself apologized for being out of the limelight for so long. He said the last 5 years have been tough on him. I'm paraphrasing. And when he came back, there was a comeback where Pee Wee looked quite different because he was older. His face was bigger, and you couldn't pass off looking like a kid as much anymore. But I think a lot of people were just really happy to see him again. A long fight with cancer. No one was like Pee Wee Herman. He stretched the boundaries. When you looked at all these crazy characters, and like his clock talked, and not that hadn't been done before, but there was something really cool about Paul Reubens. And I was sad when he was blacklisted. I understood, but I remember thinking, well, okay, is that necessary? And half my friends thought it was, and the other half didn't think it was. So, but this is a shock. This makes me think of the 80s an awful lot. I had the Pee Wee Herman doll that I bought for the kids. I bought one for myself. They're valuable now. Those that, where he's wearing the gray suit. My thought was just, this is like nothing I've seen before. This is just, it's plain craziness what he was doing. And somehow there was a comfort to it. There was a manic energy to it, remember? I mean, it certainly was that kind of energy. And Paul Reubens would play, I remember he was in the movie Matilda, playing undercover cop. Do you remember? He was with the guy who was in the Batman movie, the first one with Jack Nicholson. I don't know the actor's name, pardon me. But they played undercover cops, and I remember going, is that Paul Reubens in Matilda? Which is still one of my favorite movies of all time. And Beth Davids, great actress. So Paul, we tip our hats. It's just got some comments. We just like, what? Pee Wee Herman? Well, no, it's not Pee Wee. Pee Wee will live forever. But Rob Damon Again, an icon gone. Well said, Ace Larson. I said on your last stream, death comes in threes, but now it's in fours. Well, there's a lot of people who in the entertainment business that die, but I think death comes in threes for some people because people notice it, right? You hyper focus on a certain thing, though it does seem to happen sometimes, doesn't it? The Saline 786, oh sad. I have to call my son who was 40 and loved those movies. Well, see, my daughter is 41, and she, well, she's going to be 41 this year, but she was right in the pocket of watching Pee-wee's Playhouse, and I keep looking over here. I keep bringing myself back to those times of going through a divorce. Let me put it this way. Going through a divorce at the time was not an easy thing. This is the biggest breakup of your life, which divorce tend to be. And on Saturday mornings, we would watch this crazy ass show, and I would kind of forget about, life for a little bit because of Pee Wee Herman. And when the first movie came out, I remember just, looking around. Everyone in the theater seemed to be adults. I would see it at night. And then I saw the other one, which I loved almost as much. It wasn't nearly as big of a hit, but there was something really cool about watching Paul Reubens encompass and be in that character. But like I said, when I saw Matilda, and I saw him in a few other things, and I go, it's almost weird seeing Paul Reubens play another character, because he'll be remembered for Pee-wee for the rest of his life, no matter what, for the rest of our lives, rather. His life's over now. 7 years old, battled with cancer for the last few years. And after he passed away, someone tweeted on his behalf, his own words, that he felt bad that he had missed out on and wasn't there in the last few years, but he was trying to stay alive. And he did the right thing. Unlike a lot of celebrities who are going through stuff, I mean, cancer's a big thing. Unlike a lot of celebrities doing this, he kept it private. Kind of like Neil Peart did when he was going downhill pretty quickly. He kept it private, and like Neil Peart, people around Paul Reubens kept it quiet. Why do people around Neil Peart keep it quiet? I asked Rick Emmett that question of Triumph about a year ago, and he says, well, it's because people liked him. People respected him. And because of that, they didn't, it's the company you keep. I'd say maybe Paul Reubens was in the same boat, and he'd been suffering for a lot of years. Not that it didn't get out, but let's say Pee-wee wasn't, or Paul, see, there you go. Paul wasn't trying to get mileage out of it. He was dealing with this secretly, separately from the public eye, which is a classy thing to do. Let me read some of your... let me check on the type of cancer. I'm not sure if they've released it. Ronnie Parker, rest in peace, Pee-wee. I have a friend. He named his two dogs Pee-wee and Large Marge. Remember Large Marge? In the first movie, there was Large Marge. He gets into the truck, and she's Large Marge, and she tells him this story, and it ends up it's her and Large Marge. Isn't that? If I remember correctly, she's dead. Rob Damon. The day before yesterday, we also lost Bea Vandermatt. She was lead singer of Wonton Ton. I'm not familiar with her. Trucker Kev, paid tourist. He did the Norm Macdonald thing, battled cancer for over 6 years, but never hardly told anyone, kept it private. Well, I always say, listen, you're allowed to go through cancer. You're allowed, more than allowed, to go through cancer and be very transparent about it. But sometimes there's reality people or certain types of stars, and they need to tell everybody. And I don't know. I'm thinking out loud. You deal with cancer the way you want to. I always respect the people who keep it quiet, but at the same time, this is your life, man, and it's possibly the ending of your life. So how do you react to it? Let me check if there's the latest thing I just got on here. TV credits include 30 Rock, The Blacklist, Gotham. Loved Gotham. But there you go. Iconic figure. I was just building my friend Keith Doxford just got a hold of me. I was building we just got a new dog, and he's going under the because he's, I think, scared. He's a puppy, and he's going under the step under the patio. So I've got some lattice, and I'm building this, and I'm going, I gotta build this quickly because the dog keeps going underneath there, and he doesn't come out till our other dog starts running around. And I'm going, he's just shy, But again, he's a puppy. So I get one email from someone saying, "Is it true Paul Reubens is dead?" And I heard that he was possibly sick, but I didn't really know if he was. And then Keith got a hold of me, and then I started getting one after another saying, you should really report this because your audience knows Pee Wee really well. Sooner Scooter, rest in peace, Pee Wee, you made me laugh. Yes, of all the things that I didn't obviously say, that is the thing that Pee Wee did. And I never mentioned that throughout this whole report. He really did make us laugh. And there was that quirkiness that he did. There's that quirkiness. You go, what? What's this? All those characters in that little house, in that silly little, I can't even do it. But what he used to do, there was joy, mania, because he seemed manic, but it works on a comedic character, right? And there was a lot of energy to that. Remember, I tell you this all the time. Little story I had. My first program director, Len Tucson, once we were at a music meeting, and I wasn't even in the music department at the time. I was trying to help out. And he said, he told us, but how does a song make you feel? And I started noticing that with certain characters like Hawkeye and MASH, Alan Alda. I remember going, every time I saw Alan Alda, there was a slight mania to him. There was another side of him that was quite comforting. But I remember going, every time I saw Alan Alda on screen, I felt comforted. I liked the guy. I wanted to hang out with the guy. And not that I wanted to hang out with Pee Wee Herman. Would have been fun, though. There was something kind of cool. How did Pee Wee Herman make you feel? How did Paul Reubens make you feel? But the character Pee Wee Herman, and it certainly brought us out of our life, right? And that's what I'm concentrating on with this little memorial that we're doing. The lead says Sinead O'Connor, Paul Reubens. I'm not gonna say your username. That's a bad username. Rob Damon, the other actor who played FBI agent, was Tracy Walter. Thank you, the FBI agent from Matilda. He was a great character actor. I don't know, is Tracy Walter still around? And again, they haven't said what type of cancer. Some reports might say it, but I don't see it in mine. Anyway, got to get back to doing the lattice on the fence. Paul Reubens is one of those guys I could talk about all day. And I had the doll, and I remember, I think I gave it to Goodwill. It'd be in my journal someplace. I'm not sure what I did with the Pee Wee Herman doll. But it laughed. It had the little pull thing in the back, and it said little crazy little things. The Pee Wee Herman memorabilia is worth a lot now. So there you go. Paul Reubens, may you rest in peace. Thank you for what you've done. You will not be forgotten. Again, to everyone who's watching, love you guys. Thank you for supporting the channel. There are ways you can support the channel in the description. And every time people send us a donation, we'll buy crazy things like this beautiful little switcher we just bought. Someone gave us a donation of $100, and I went, well, I'm going to go finally buy a switcher. And I'm learning how to use it right now. Anyway, take good care of yourself. Have a good day. Oh, one more. Okay, George. Yes, from Matilda, Rob says. George Music for all seasons. Rest in peace, Paul Reubens, a.k.a. Pee Wee Herman. Condolences to the family. Yes, well said. We'll leave you have the last word. Take care of yourself, guys. News breaks will come on today, later on. Also, we are cutting up right now the Bill Zimzik interview, the guy who produced the Eagles from On the Border Onward. There's juicy stuff on there. He isn't salacious or anything, but he tells us some interesting stories behind the scenes of Jay Giles Band, B.B. King, also mostly, of course, the Eagles and Joe Walsh. John Bowden, take care of yourself. Rock History Music.